welcome all. My name is Colin Martirana, the project manager leading this effort for the San Mateo County Flood and Sea Level Rise Resiliency District, also known as One Shoreline. This is our first major construction project, as we are a newly established local government agency here in San Mateo County, focused on building flood, sea level rise, coastal erosion, regional stormwater solutions for this region. Our agency is uniquely positioned for the county to work across jurisdictional bounds of the 20 cities and the county included to build solutions to those challenges, and also support those agencies to compete for state and federal funding with a unified voice under One Shoreline. This presentation tonight is intended to provide the communities adjacent to Bayfront Canal and Atherton Channel, as well as the folks that frequent or visit Bedwell Bayfront Park, a brief overview of the project, its history, the purpose behind its kind of foundation, and share a little bit about what's occurred to date throughout the lifespan of this construction project thus far, and what we may anticipate looking forward the next few months. Advance the screen here. I assume all can see that. Just a quick agenda run through. I'll allow you all to read it for yourself. A quick welcome as we've gone through, reading the project purpose, overview, and the activity that we've seen on site. I'd like to make special mention of the fact that I hope to keep this a relatively short presentation for our hour here together, maybe 10-15 minutes, but the primary focus is for the community that is in attendance tonight to field any questions or concerns you may have, or curiosities. Please feel free to pose those questions. I'll try to get through the presentation if you can let me do that, and then we'll try to take questions either in the chat or by using the raise hand feature, and we'll try to take those questions in the order that they're received. I'm not exactly able to access the attendees list at this moment, but if there's anyone that is here on the phone, I believe you can use *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute. With that, so a little bit about the project purpose and history of how we got here. Provide a little background. Over the past 70 years or so, the recorded history that we were able to account for, there have been 40 significant flood events adjacent to the Bayfront Canal and Atherton Channel, which is occurring more than every 2 years, approaching an annual basis. And as a result, those impacts, the consequences that are incurred by this community have hit some of the most vulnerable in this region, and some of those have the most difficult time recovering from those. So in response to that threat, planning for this project began back in 2012, nearly a decade ago now. And in 2020, with the newly established district, we were well positioned to kind of bring the kind of disparate agencies that would benefit from the implementation of such a project. That includes areas of unincorporated county, the cities of Redwood City and Menlo Park, and the town of Atherton. We were able to bring those folks together, complete the design work for this effort, establish a cost-sharing agreement for the construction costs, acquired all the necessary land access and environmental permits required, and brought this project into construction. So a little on an overview of the project. The Well, yeah, so maybe more the challenge that we are focused on first. So Atherton Channel and Bayfront Canal, their watersheds collect stormwater runoff from an area of about 9 square miles that feed into these two channels. Again, feeding from those agencies, those partnering agencies that I mentioned earlier. The confluence, the intersection of those two channels under normal circumstances empties to the bay through a series of tide gates. And I have that indicated if you're all able to see my mouse. You can see the combining of these two channels and again, under normal circumstances, empty out into the bay through this series of tide gates. Under scenarios when we have a storm event concurrent with a high tide, that high tide by design closes those tide gates. And as a result, any stormwater runoff that is collected by these two channels is limited in its capacity, in essence, to Bayfront Canal, which is a severely undersized channel that is not really designed to contain that volume of water. So accordingly, our project proposes diverting a portion of those stormwater flows from Bayfront Canal underneath the entrance to Bedwell Bayfront Park. This is Marsh Road here. So these channels or these underground tunnels divert flow from Bayfront Canal to the managed ponds of the South Bay Salt Pond Restoration Project effort, which is located on and managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. In doing so, we are in essence able to take advantage of the additional capacity that those managed ponds have to offer, divert that stormwater to those ponds to store them for a temporary period of time. And in parallel with our efforts, a portion of the South Bay Salt Pond Restoration Project effort is hydraulically connecting those ponds to the bay. And so we will have, we have already established a kind of an operational relationship between our project and theirs. And so we'll be able to fortuitously take advantage of that capacity, but at the same time, there's still a way eventually for those ponds to drain. And if there were another storm event where we needed that capacity a number of days later, say, we have that opportunity. Continuing on the project overview, on the left-hand side, it provides a kind of depiction of a bird's eye view and profile view of the proposed project. There's a diversion structure that is built into the bank of Bayfront Canal that diverts a portion of those flows into these underground tunnels. And you can see traveling to the left here is where Bayfront Canal goes. Again, if you're able to see my mouse, at a certain elevation within Bayfront Canal, certain water elevation within that canal, that water can then spill over what's called a weir, basically the highest point of our intake structure. And then that starts to fill this capture basin, and at a certain elevation of water within that basin, an appropriate or a necessary amount of pressure is built up, which can then drive a siphon, a natural siphon that will, without any additional input of power, drive water from that basin to those managed ponds. And then I have a photo here on the right-hand side. You can actually just get a sense of kind of the general alignment of that diversion structure and kind of the context of the ponds that we're releasing to. Let's see. Yeah, as I noted before, funding for this project is provided by the participating agencies of the cities of Menlo Park, Redwood City, the town of Atherton, the county of San Mateo, and the state through the Department of Water Resources. They have granted a bucket of funds that also partly fund this project through the Proposition 84. As I mentioned, we acquired a collection of land access rights to build this project. And that includes the property owner Cargill, upon which most of this project is built, the city of Menlo Park, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, in taking advantage of the capacity that these ponds have to offer, and Caltrans, as they have some utilities and some right-of-way proximate to our work. In addition, we also acquired the environmental regulatory permits through BCDC. This alphabet soup of agencies. All to say, this is a multi-agency and multi-benefit project, and we are very excited to play a role in it. So with all that, I figured I didn't want to ramble through a description of the work to date, and so instead I'm going to run through a collection of photos. It's going to be a lot of content. Again, if you could, please save your questions till the end, but I'm happy to return to the collection of photos and answer any questions or walk through details as needed. We'll just run through this quick. So construction at the entrance to Bedwell Bayfront Park began in mid-June. So we're about 5 months in now. Early on in the planning of this project, we all recognized the importance that Bedwell Bayfront Park plays for this community, and so we understood that accordingly, the access to that park was to be maintained, and so as a result, this project has actually been broken out into 2 separate phases, or more importantly, the installation of these underground tunnels have been broken out into 2 different phases. And so in this first phase, which takes place between Marsh Road and Bayfront Canal, so anywhere north of Marsh Road in our project site, is defined as phase 1. And I have a collection of photos here. You're able to observe that a series of what are called sheet piles, these beams that you can kind of see the cross section of here, are driven into the ground between 30 and 40 feet, and they're in this instance they're driven in parallel, and the space in between those 2 series of sheet piles that are driven allows for a safe place to excavate material out of, allowing us access to the area needed to install these underground tunnels or box culverts, they're called. Just want to take a quick note, the bottom right-hand corner here, in parallel with this phase 1 effort, was the installation of the outfall structure, which is taking place in those ponds, and the excavation or removal of material, increasing the capacity of the pond that we are emptying into. And so you can see that excavation effort occurring in this bottom right-hand corner. Photo, quite an advancement. This work was generally occurring in the September timeframe. You can see the installation or the placement of those box culvert sections, those tunnel sections actually taking place. I suppose kind of speaks for itself, but I felt they were very striking photos, and again, happy to return back if there's any questions. But again, this is all work of phase 1 that is occurring between Marsh Road, which is the far end of this excavation, if you're able to see that clearly, and Bayfront Canal. And this collection of photos is generally work that was occurring in October. The phase one, the installation of those underground tunnels, was completed around the end of October. The completion of the outfall structure, which I referenced earlier, which is kind of the end condition, or kind of the structure that receives the flow into those ponds. That structure itself has been completed as well. And you can see there's still some work occurring at the intake structure itself, which is immediately adjacent to Bayfront Canal. Yeah, we're getting pretty close on that as well. But yeah, this photo in the top right-hand corner here gives you a good sense of kind of the slope of the spillway entering into this intake structure. Yeah, kind of just the scale of work that we're talking about here. This picture on the bottom right is a part of the process of then backfilling and permanently burying those tunnels. And this photo on the bottom left-hand corner is kind of a good marker of the completion of phase one. Phase one has been completed. Those underground tunnels have been completely installed and backfilled, and Marsh Road has, which is what we're seeing here, has been returned to its pre-project alignment, which then in turn opens up the expanse for phase two, which will be occurring on the south side of Marsh Road, which is the process that we are currently undertaking now. And this just gives you a good, I think, visual of what I've been describing here. So we completed phase one, and you're able to see that temporarily Marsh Road was jogged to the right, and that picture that I just shared in the bottom left-hand corner then realigns Marsh Road, again, if you're able to see my mouse here, back to its original alignment, which, as you can see, evidently overlaps a portion of that phase one excavation, which necessitated the Marsh Road realignment in the first place. Again, you're able to see the intake structure at a little bit earlier phase. This is early September, I believe, maybe late August, this photo. And yeah, as I mentioned, we are now moving into phase two. So a lot of the work that was kind of depicted in those previous photos, kind of comparable work will continue over the next couple of months for this phase two reach. And just a couple notes here of what we kind of anticipate in the next week or so. As suggested, yeah, excavations, the removal of that material is beginning this week. And then we anticipate at least the delivery of the box culvert sections, those underground tunnel sections, to be on site next week, and anticipated that those first sections will be placed next week as well. And it's all to say that the installation of these, the completion of this connection from Bayfront Canal to those ponds is to be completed, will be completed by the end of this year. And beyond that timeline, we anticipate some final closeout items and site restoration work into early 2022. Yeah, our very capable construction team, of which we have, I know our construction management firm representative, Steve Miskowitz, is here on the call. I didn't catch if others had joined, but yeah, we've done an incredible job keeping I's dotted and T's crossed, and yeah, sticking to our aggressive schedule. But yeah, it's been very encouraging, and looking forward, we're cautiously optimistic. And I think that was about all that I had to share. Certainly, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out in any of the methods shared here. Again, we're very excited and encouraged to play a role in providing a mitigative solution to the challenges that this community has faced for decades. And yeah, proud to claim this as our district's first project. And as I said at the top of this, happy to field any questions or concerns. Thank you. Let's see. And I see, yeah. And I can run through, I can have some of these photos up if that is helpful. Let's see. Ever Rodriguez, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Colin, for your presentation. My name is Ever Rodriguez. I'm councilman for the North Fair Oaks Community Council. And I'm also president for the North Fair Oaks Community Alliance. And we have been working with a team of from Stanford University looking at flooding events right around this area from East Palo Alto to that northern side of Redwood City across 101. And I'm wondering if there's been, if sea level rising has been considered for this project, and would that have any effect on the, I guess, on the capacity of the tunnels to disperse the water?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you, Ever. So first and foremost, this project is not a sea level rise mitigation or yeah, a sea level rise protection project. It is solely focused on stormwater flooding mitigation. That being said, looking forward into the future as sea levels continue to rise, that the outcome with relation to our project will really be the fact that our project will be utilized more often. There will be more scenarios where those tide gates that I had referenced earlier will be closed, and there will be more instances where diversions from Bayfront Canal the limited capacity of Bayfront Canal will be benefited by diversions from our project. That being said as well, the berms or levees, depending on which region that we're kind of located in. I don't know if you're able to see behind me, but you can, I have these tide gates, a picture of these tide gates behind me. The road where that travels by is at elevation 11, I believe. And concurrent with our project, there is an effort being led by it is the South Bay Salt Pond Restoration Project led by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And they are building up their collection of berms, which provide this additional capacity up to elevation 10. And so the operational protocol, which I had alluded to earlier about the interaction of our project and the refuges project, it's a relatively complicated matter. I could try to struggle through it some, but in essence, we have a strategy in place to concurrently keep an eye on impending storm events coming in concurrent with high tides. And so if we observe certain scenarios where we anticipate that a diversion would occur, we have the operational authority to go out onto the refuge property and operate those structures that connect the refuge's ponds to the bay, allowing them to drain, providing that capacity, and then perform a diversion through our project, taking advantage of those ponds, and then eventually going back out on site and draining down those elevations to pre-diversion elevations. And so that may have been a long-winded kind of response, but our project is not at all focused in response to sea level rise, but there are projects around ours that will allow ours to be effective for years to come, certainly.
Right, but I guess is the sea level rise going to be considered for, you know, future events, or this was not contemplated?
Specifically for this project, those considerations were outside the scope of this project.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. E. Wilkinson.
Hi there. Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Hi. I'm just wondering, what is the lifetime of this infrastructure project? What is it anticipated length that it will be able to survive and be not needing repair, major replacement? Is it 50 years, 90 years?
Yeah, it has a design life of 50 years.
50 years. Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
May I ask another question? If
you may, I think you may have just muted yourself.
Yeah, thank you. So my other question is, in terms of maintenance, is there going to be a schedule of maintenance for these?
Most certainly, yes. And we are working through the details of that with our partner agencies now. In addition to what I mentioned earlier, our operational protocol that they'll certainly kind of interface with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess my concern in terms of maintenance would be debris carried on by stormwater.
So a couple of things there. I apologize. I meant to have mentioned this earlier, but an important component of this project is a collection of trash racks at the entrance of our intake structure that collect and remove debris from those stormwater flows down to about 1.5 inches, or about the size of like a cigarette butt, which is a significant cleaning of that water, which formerly there was no treatment for. So that's another very encouraging component of this project. For any debris that gets past those tide gates or trash racks, sorry, there is a concern, certainly for low flow conditions where we may have overtopping of the intake structure's weir, water being able to spill into the spillway, but not build up so much water elevation that it drives that natural siphon, where we may get sedimentation or material buildup, which you're referring to. And there are two opportunities here. One of them being the way that these this diversion structure is designed is to drive flows at a particular velocity or above a particular velocity, which is considered self-cleaning. It's about twice the rate that would be required for it to be self-cleaning. So that is to suggest the water that is diverted through it is moving quick enough that any debris that has collected at the bottom of the spillway or somewhere along the length of that structure gets driven out once we have a siphon-driven flow. That being said, yes, we certainly are working through the maintenance schedule or roles and responsibilities necessary, which of course will be a learning process, since at least no one that I'm aware of on this team has had experience with this particular project and what exactly will be required. So it'll certainly be a learning process. But we have a kind of a robust agreement and team in place to manage that challenge. It'll be a shared partnership between the district and the partnering agencies. As I mentioned before, the cities of Redwood City, Menlo Park, Town of Atherton, and County of San Mateo. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And E. Wilkinson, I'm not sure if you have another question. Your hand is still up.
Sorry about that. No, I'm just not used to using my phone to do this. I'll take it down. Thanks though.
Sure. I believe that's *9. You got it. Well done. Good. And I'm not seeing, other than E. Wilkinson's appreciation in the chat, I don't see any other items. You're welcome to pose any questions in the chat if you'd like, but I'm not currently seeing any hands.
Could I ask one more question?
I suppose. Yes, of course.
Thank you. I wonder if there's a sort of an easy estimate for the general public to understand in terms of the amount of water dispersed by the channels versus the capacity of these tunnels to disperse water. Like, you know, at least a ratio. Is it like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways I suppose to answer that question. The one that most immediately comes to mind is the maximum rate of conveyance through that series of tide gates, if you're familiar with those, is about 1,500 cubic feet per second. And our project, the maximum flow rate that it is designed to be able to convey is 600 cubic feet per second. So it's you know, near a 50% increase from the existing conveyance capacity.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for your engaging questions. Yeah, I don't know, Steve, do we have an additional check-in meeting, I guess? Go through some of our nitty-gritty details?
Sure can, if anybody's interested. It's exciting.
We have Steve Miskowitz here, our project manager from our construction management team. I'm not sure if he's willing to answer questions or not. I'm happy to field them otherwise, but yeah, he's we would be in a much worse condition, I think, without his support. It's been a great help.
If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Or attempt to answer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had to miss most of it actually, but we live in the North Fair Oaks area and are serviced by the Atherton pump station behind Marsh Manor. And we've been severely flooded, not nuisance flooding, but severe flooding into our homes in the past. And it's our understanding in working with the county that the Athlone pump station can't it can't be enlarged to handle more water because of the downstream effects on areas near the bay. And so our hope was that the Bayfront Canal project would at least alleviate that, so that when there's a high tide and there's a lot of storm water, that we wouldn't get backed up beyond the capacity of our Athlone pump station. So, so we're very grateful for this project and hope that it will at least alleviate some of the water that affects our area. So I want to thank you and also just express that we do get very anxious whenever there's a big storm because of the past experience. And we understand that this is a regional issue, that it's not just our little street or area, but it's the whole watershed. And our street happens to be the low spot for the area. So I just thank you, and that's our situation.
Yeah, thank you for your comments, Cindy. I think I may have heard from you by email too. I appreciate
Yes.
Appreciate your messages. And yeah, you're exactly right. It is a regional problem and a solution to be handled as such. We can't promise that this project will be the end all be all solution. It's not arranged that way. It doesn't have, there's not even the opportunity to, we couldn't have made this project larger to result in a greater benefit. This is the greatest benefit that this project is able to provide in this area. Following the flow of water above this project, there are other capacity constraints that limit water reaching, even getting to this area. And so exactly as you suggested, it is a regional challenge because there are a number of limitations, I suppose, that all kind of culminate in the threat and flooding that you've encountered before. Prior to the establishment of our agency, the county had led and completed a watershed management study, which identified a number of opportunities to build flood resilience for the combination of these two watersheds. And they've provided some good insight and identified opportunities that, again, hopefully as a collective between the district and our funding partners, hope to pursue in the future. I certainly can't speak knowledgeably to what form those projects may take, of course, but that's our main call to action here at One Shoreline, and I appreciate hearing your perspective.
Thank you for all the work that you and others have been doing, and we realize it takes a lot of coordination between multiple agencies. So it seems like quite a feat that you've accomplished.
Appreciate it. Yeah. It's been a good learning opportunity, certainly.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I suppose I can note, you are all not required to stay here until 8 o'clock. You can feel free to come in and out all you like, but I have kept the remainder of my night open for anyone who would like to stick around and ask questions or yeah, or just talk or hear more about the project. Happy to share, but yeah, you're certainly released otherwise if you'd like.
Thank you, Colin. The photo you're showing on the lower quadrant, the far right, is that just digging the trench or enlarging the salt pond for more water capacity?
Yeah, so this you did get it right. This is within the forebay, it's called, of this pond complex, and so it's the most immediate pond that we are diverting flows into. And actually, maybe I can get a better photo just to give us another bird's eye view. So this is that pond right here, and I wanted to jump to this one. And so this is representative of the entire project footprint. Yeah, you should be able to see my screen still.
I see.
And so we are diverting flows initially to what is called this forebay. And as a part of our project, we are we have removed material about 2 feet generally, more or less, from this forebay, just from this footprint, to provide for that additional capacity. And also very important, worth noting, about a little less than 20,000 cubic yards were removed from that area, from that footprint. And as a part of this project, we were able to work out the beneficial reuse of that excavated material for the building up of those berms as part of the South Bay Salt Pond Restoration Project effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that question. That was an important point to get to.
And in general, thank you for your work and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Ever.